Namaste. Today I'm going to read Volume 3, Book 3, SataRudra Samhita, Chapter 31, the incarnation of Shiva as Bhiksu Varya in the Shiva Puran. Hari Om Tat Sat. Nandishvara said, O excellent sage, I shall now narrate the incarnation of Shiva in which he dispelled the suspicion of a Brahmin woman. There was a king in the land of Vidarbha named SataRudra. He was virtuous, regularly observing truthfulness, and a favorite of great devotees of Shiva. O sage, as the king ruled over the kingdom virtuously, observing piety to Shiva, a long time elapsed very happily. Once a great fight ensued between the king and the Salvas, who laid siege to his city with many armies puffed up with their strength. The king of Vidarbha had a terrible fight with them, but his armies were destroyed and he was killed by Salvas due to adverse fate. When the king was killed in the battle by the Salvas, the terrified soldiers who survived death fled along with the ministers. His crowned queen, who was pregnant and who had been imprisoned by the enemies, escaped from the city, O sage, during the night. Coming out of the city, the grief-stricken crowned queen slowly went very far in the eastern direction with her heart set on the lotus-like feet of Shiva. Early in the morning, next day after she had traversed a long way, the queen saw a pure lake thanks to the mercy of Shiva. After reaching the banks of the lake, the distressed beloved of the king of tender body resorted to a shady tree for rest and stay. Fortunately, in an auspicious and miraculous hour, the queen gave birth to a son endowed with all divine characteristics. The thirsty mother, the wife of the king, entered the lake for drinking water, but as willed by fate, she was devoured by a crocodile in the water. The son, bereft of father and mother, distressed by hunger and thirst at the time of birth, cried out, O sage, when the newborn baby was weeping and wailing in the forest, Lord Shiva, the eminent soul and protector, was moved to pity. A wandering beggar woman came there accidentally, urged mentally by Shiva, the dispeller of fear. She was a widow and was herself carrying her 1-year-old son. She was an orphan child. She saw an orphan child weeping there. O sage, on seeing an infant boy in the desolate forest, that Brahmin woman was surprised and pondered over the situation in diverse ways. An extremely wonderful thing has been seen by me now. It cannot be conceived by the mind or explained in words. This infant whose umbilical cord has not been cut lies on the bare ground. He has no mother. He is weeping, but he is very brilliant. He has no parents or persons to help him. What might have caused this? Alas, how strong is power of fate! I do not know his parentage. There is none who knows him. Whom can I inquire about the details of his birth? But I feel drawn towards him. Without knowing his birth and parentage, I shall not touch him, although I wish to nourish him and bring him up as a child born of me. Nandishvara said, when the excellent Brahmin lady was musing thus, Shiva, favorably disposed to his devotees, took pity. Lord Shiva, of great sports, bestower of happiness on devotees in every respect, unconditionally forever, by himself assumed the form of a mendicant. Mendicant, who was Lord Shiva, suddenly came to the place where the doubting Brahmin lady, desirous of knowing the details, was standing. The Lord, whose ways are unscrutable, who is the storehouse of mercy, and who assumed the form of the leading mendicant, laughed and told the Brahmin lady. The mendicant said, O Brahmin lady, do not entertain any doubt in your mind. Do not be sorry. Protect this pure boy, your adopted son, lovingly. Ere long you will attain a great glory through this infant. Nourish this extremely brilliant infant by all means. Nandishvara said, the Brahmin lady respectfully and lovingly asked Shiva, the storehouse of mercy, in the form of a mendicant, who spoke thus. The Brahmin lady said, at your behest I shall nourish and bring up this boy as though he is my own son. There shall be no doubt in this. You have come here by my good fortune. Still, I wish to know the particular details and facts about him. Whose son is he? Who are you that have come here? O Lord, O excellent mendicant, again and again the thought occurs to me that you are Shiva, the ocean of mercy, and this infant had been your devotee formerly. Through some defect in his past actions, he has attained this plight. After experiencing it, he will surely attain glory, thanks to your bliss. It is your Maya that I have been deluded. I had lost my way. In order to protect him, I have been urged by you to come over here. Nandishvara said, Shiva, in the guise of a mendicant, spoke to the Brahmin lady, who had attained perfect knowledge by seeing him, and who evinced the desire to know the details. The mendicant said, O Brahmin lady, listen with pleasure to the attendance of this boy. O sinless one, I shall mention all the details to you. This boy is the son of SataRudra, king of Vidarbha, a great devotee of Shiva, and devoted to his duty. Listen, the king SataRudra was killed by his enemies in the battle. His excited and distressed wife set out from the palace at night. She came here in the morning and gave birth to this boy. Due to thirst, she got into the lake, and as fate would have it, was seized by the crocodile. Nandishvara said, thus he narrated to her all the details, the manner of his birth, the death of his father in the battle, and that of his mother due to the crocodile. O great sage, then the Brahmin lady, who was surprised, asked the mendicant of perfect knowledge in the form of a Siddha again. The Brahmin lady said, O mendicant, how was his father, the king, killed in the midst of his enjoyment of excellent pleasures by his enemies, the Salvas, in a few days? How was the mother of this infant devoured by the crocodile so suddenly? How did he happen to be orphaned and helpless ever since his birth? How is it that my son too is very poor and a beggar? O mendicant, how will these two sons attain happiness? Please tell me. Nandishvara said. On hearing these words of the Brahmin wife, the delighted mendicant, Lord Shiva himself, said laughingly. The mendicant said, O Brahmin lady, I shall answer all questions in detail. Listen with attention to this excellent narrative. The father of this boy, the king of Vidarbha, was the excellent king Pandya. In his previous birth, the king was a devotee of Shiva. He ruled over the entire earth virtuously, quelling all disturbances. He made all the subjects happy and contented, observing fasts and other rites in the day and night. On a Trayodasi, 15th day, once he worshipped Shiva, the Lord of all, at dusk. As he was worshipping Shiva at dusk in the course of his holy rites, there arose a great noise in the city, hideous in every respect. On hearing that noise, the king left the worship of Shiva unfinished and went out of his palace, suspecting the arrival of enemies. In the meantime, his powerful minister came near the king, catching hold of the enemy king. On seeing the enemy king, he was extremely Agitated by anger, disregardful of the right course, he caused him to be beheaded. Without concluding the worship of Shiva, the defiled king, confused in mind and bereft of auspiciousness, took his food at night with pleasure. He was born as the king of Vidarbha. He observed holy rites of Shiva during this birth. Also, since there was a hindrance to his worship of Shiva during the previous birth, he was now killed in the midst of his enjoyment. His son in the previous birth was born as his son in this birth too, but he was bereft of riches due to the break in the worship of Shiva. The mother of this boy had killed her co-wife in the previous birth. Hence, due to that sin, she was devoured by the crocodile in this birth. Thus, the activities have been narrated to you. People having no devotion to Shiva and not worshipping him attain poverty. This son of yours was an excellent Brahmin in his previous birth. He spent his life in accepting gifts, but he did not perform holy rites like sacrifice, etc. O Brahmin lady, hence your son has incurred poverty. Seek refuge in Shiva in order to ward off that sin. Let the worship of Shiva be performed by these two sons. Only after the investiture with the sacred thread will Shiva bestow glory. Nandishvara said, after instructing her thus, Shiva, in the form of a mendicant favorably disposed towards his devotees, revealed his real self to her. On coming to know that he was Lord Shiva, the Brahmin lady bowed to and eulogized him with choking words full of devotion. Even as the Brahmin lady stood watching, Shiva, who had taken the form of a mendicant, vanished there itself. When the mendicant disappeared, the carefree Brahmin woman took that boy and her son home. She took up residence in the beautiful city Ekachakra and nourished the prince and her own son with excellent food. Their sacred rites and the investiture with the sacred thread were performed by the Brahmins. They grew up thus devoted to the worship of Shiva in their own house. O there, at the behest of the sage Sandilya, they observe vows and restraints and perform the worship of Shiva during dusk. Once, when the prince went to the river for his bath without the Brahmin boy, he found an excellent pot of treasure. Thus 4 months elapsed as the two boys continued their worship of Shiva. As they continued the worship of Shiva, again with great joy, a year elapsed in the very same house. O sage, after a year had elapsed, the prince once went to a forest along with the Brahmin boy. There Gandharva came by chance and gave his daughter in marriage to the prince. The prince ruled over the kingdom without any check or hindrance. He considered the Brahmin lady who brought him up as his mother and the Brahmin boy as his brother. In name of Dharmagupta, he continued to appropriate the Lord of Gods and enjoyed pleasures along with the princes in the kingdom of Vidarbha. Thus the incarnation of Shiva as the Bhiksubharya, bestowing happiness on the prince Dharmagupta, has been narrated by me now. This narrative is pious, extremely sanctifying and holy. It is an instrument for attaining virtue, wealth, love, and liberation. It yields all pleasures. He who listens to this tale and narrates this to others with pure mind enjoys all pleasures here and goes to the region of Shiva hereafter. Footnotes. Okay. 80. The Purana does not mention the Pandya king by name. 82. It was the town of Kikakas according to the, it says MBH. So I'm guessing that's Mahabharat. And here in today's reading of the Shiva Puran. Om Prabhu Prananatam, Vyom Veshwanatam, Jagannataratam, Saradapasham, Putam Vaishnavam, Shivam Shakaram, Kamarakaram, Karanavataram, Sansara Saram, Bhujagendraram, Sadam. Hari Om Tat Sat.